Number 23. Perception versus reality. For decades, Iraq has often appeared in international media through images of war, terrorism, and devastated cities. As a result, many people still see the country as a place of prolonged conflict, but that is only a very small part of Iraq. Located in Western Asia, Iraq borders Turkey, Iran, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Syria, while also having a short coastline along the Persian Gulf. The Tigris and Euphrates rivers flow through the Mesopotamian plains, while the north is mountainous and the west is mostly desert. In 2026, Iraq's population is estimated at about 46.6 million, with most people living in cities such as Baghdad, Mosul, Basra, and Erbil. Every day, millions of Iraqis still go to work, attend school, open shops, run businesses, and care for their families. Baghdad is not just a name in war reports, but also a crowded city with universities, historic markets, cafes, busy traffic, and a vibrant nightlife. Iraq also has a very young population, with a median age of about 22. The new generation is interested in careers, technology, love, social media, and opportunities for future growth. They have grown up amid the consequences of instability, but they do not want their lives to continue being defined by war. Iraq still faces many challenges, but more than 46 million people cannot be understood through bombs and conflict alone. War is part of its history. Everyday life is the story that continues. Number 22. Iraqi women, the truth no one talks about. The image of Iraqi women in international media is often reduced to a single stereotype: dressing conservatively, living entirely dependent on their families, and being almost absent from public life. The reality is far more complex. Iraq is home to millions of women from different communities, economic backgrounds, and living environments. A young woman in Baghdad may study medicine, use social media, and prepare to build a career, while a woman living in a rural area may spend most of her time caring for her family and doing unpaid work. Both are part of modern Iraq. Iraqi women now work as doctors, pharmacists, engineers, teachers, lawyers, journalists, civil servants, and business owners. They are especially present in education, healthcare, and the public sector, fields that families often consider more stable and appropriate. At universities in Baghdad, Erbil, and many other cities, female students studying medicine, law, science, and technology are no longer uncommon. United Nations programs in Iraq are also focusing on expanding vocational training, supporting small businesses, and creating financial opportunities for women who want to start their own businesses. Clothing cannot be explained by a single rule either. Many women wear the hijab because of religious beliefs, family traditions, or personal choice. Some do not wear it. Especially in urban settings or communities with different customs, styles can range from traditional robes to jeans, jackets, hospital uniforms, and office attire. These differences depend on the city, religious community, generation, family, and the level of freedom each woman has. Therefore, clothing does not automatically reveal how educated, independent, or conservative a woman is. However, women's presence in schools and hospitals does not mean equality has been achieved. Women's labor force participation rate in Iraq remains at only about 11%, among the lowest in the Middle East and North Africa. Women may face difficulties traveling, working late, working in mixed-gender environments, or finding jobs in the private sector. Childcare, housework, and caring for relatives also fall mainly on their shoulders. According to UN Women data, women and girls spend about 24% of their time on unpaid care and domestic work, compared with only about 4% for men. The unemployment rate among women is also significantly higher than among men. The barriers are even greater for poor women, those living in rural areas, people displaced by conflict, and members of minority communities. Some face early marriage, gender-based violence, limited access to education, and pressure to place family honor above personal choice. United Nations campaigns in Baghdad and Erbil continue to emphasize that violence against women and girls is a long-term issue that must be addressed. Iraqi women are therefore neither completely confined by tradition nor fully free from social limitations. They live between both realities, pursuing education and building careers, while also negotiating family, religious, economic, and community expectations. No single image can represent them all. Number 21. Hospitality, the thing that catches you off guard. In Iraq, a stranger may not have to wait long before being invited to sit down, drink a cup of tea, or share a meal with a family. The invitation may come during the very first meeting in a market, a small cafe, along the roadside, or at someone's front door. The host may not yet know exactly who you are, where you come from, or how long you will stay, but that does not stop them from bringing out tea, bread, dates, or a plate of food. This hospitality is more than simple politeness. It comes from tribal traditions, religious life, and social customs passed down through generations. In the past, when people traveled across deserts, hot, dry plains, or areas far from cities, offering a stranger food, water, and a place to rest could sometimes mean the difference between life and death. Over time, helping unfamiliar guests became part of a family's honor and a community's reputation. Many Iraqis grow up believing that a guest in the home is a gift from God. As a result, hosting is not seen as a burden, but as an opportunity to show generosity. When a guest arrives, tea is usually served first. This may be followed by fruit, sweets, or a full meal, even when the guest only plans to stay for a short time. Refusing too quickly may lead the host to continue offering, because they want to make sure the guest does not leave hungry or feel unwelcome. What is remarkable is that this generosity is not limited to wealthy families. In small towns, rural areas, or low-income communities, people are still willing to share whatever food they have. A family may not own much, but they will still prepare extra rice, meat, bread, or tea for a newcomer. The value of the meal does not lie in how luxurious it is, but in treating another person as an honored guest. In many societies, trust has to be built slowly. In Iraq, trust is sometimes given first. A stranger may be invited into a home, seated at the table, and included in the conversation, before having to prove anything. It is this openness that makes many travelers remember the Iraqi people longer than the monuments or landscapes they have seen. Number 20. A different Iraq, the one you never see. Looking at Iraq only through international news reports, many people might believe the entire country is still a war zone. But beyond the places once heavily affected by conflict, a modern Iraq continues to function every day. Baghdad, Erbil, and Basra have universities, shopping malls, restaurants, cafes, new residential developments, and businesses serving a younger generation that is increasingly connected to the world. Baghdad shows this contrast most clearly. Traffic-packed boulevards run through modern neighborhoods, while old markets, religious sites, and structures connected to thousands of years of history still stand nearby. Basra, the major port city in the south, plays an important role in trade and the oil and gas industry. In the north, Erbil has developed into the business and tourism center of the Kurdistan region. The area has hotels, shopping malls, restaurants, and resorts facing the mountains. In 2024 alone, the Kurdistan regional government said the region welcomed more than 8 million visitors. Air travel also shows that Iraq is far from isolated. Domestic routes connect Baghdad with Erbil, Sulaymaniyah, and Basra, while international flights carry passengers to Istanbul, Cairo, Amman, and many other cities. People travel by air for business, education, family visits, or religious pilgrimages. Flights are sometimes disrupted by regional tensions, but airports remain an essential part of modern life. Behind much of this development is oil. Iraq holds the world's 5th largest proven crude oil reserves. While oil revenues still account for most government income, this money helps pay public sector salaries, build roads, upgrade railways, maintain services, and rebuild places once devastated by conflict. However, heavy dependence on oil also makes the economy vulnerable when energy prices or export volumes fluctuate. Modern Iraq is not a country that has completely overcome its difficulties. It is a place where shopping malls stand beside ancient ruins. New infrastructure projects appear alongside neighborhoods that still lack services, and ordinary life continues to develop amid many unresolved problems. Iraq is not a single image, but many realities existing at the same time. Number 19. Refugees and displacement in Iraq. Displacement in Iraq is the result of decades of war, sectarian violence, and the rise of the self-proclaimed Islamic State. From the Gulf War and the 2003 war to the campaign against ISIS from 2014 to 2017, millions of people were forced to leave their homes as cities were devastated, public services collapsed, and security disappeared. Mosul, Sinjar, Ramadi, and many other areas experienced large-scale waves of people fleeing. By the end of 2025, nearly 5 million people had returned to their original places of residence. But about 1 million people in Iraq were still living away from their homes. Around 102,000 of them were staying in 20 displacement camps in the Kurdistan region. Life in the camps can last for years. Residents face temporary housing, shortages of electricity and clean water, limited healthcare services, and the risk of fires. Most displaced people now live outside camps, renting homes, staying with relatives, or living in informal settlements in urban areas. Returning home does not mean that life immediately returns to normal. Many houses have been destroyed, job opportunities are limited, and schools and water systems have not yet been restored. Some families also lack civil documents or are concerned about security and discrimination in their former communities. By 2025, only about 27% of returning households had successfully registered to receive the full compensation they were entitled to. Iraq is also hosting about 346,000 refugees and asylum seekers, most of them from Syria. The government's gradual closure of displacement camps may help end prolonged temporary living, but without housing, jobs, and basic services, families risk being displaced to another location instead of truly returning home. Number 18. When the sun goes down, life begins. In Iraq, summer does more than make the weather hotter. It changes the entire rhythm of city life. In many areas, daytime temperatures can exceed 120 or 122 degrees Fahrenheit. Under this intense heat, roads absorb the sun, the air becomes dry and harsh, and walking outdoors for long periods can be extremely uncomfortable. Activities that are not truly necessary are often avoided around midday, while residents must organize their daily routines very differently from people living in countries with milder climates. The day often begins early. Workers try to complete their tasks before the heat reaches its peak. Markets open in the morning, shopping is done more quickly, and many families avoid going outside during the hottest hours. By midday, some streets become quieter, stores may reduce their activity, people return home to rest, and air conditioners and generators become essential. When the power system fails, the heat can turn an ordinary day into a real challenge. But as the sun begins to set, Iraq seems to shift into a different state. Temperatures drop, stores reopen, traffic grows heavier, and neighborhoods gradually regain their energy. Sidewalks, parks, restaurants, and cafes become gathering places for families, friends, and neighbors. Children play outside, adults talk, and many businesses remain active late into the night. Tea is almost essential at these gatherings. A glass of strong tea, usually served sweet, may appear in homes, stores, offices, or small roadside cafes. Iraqis do not necessarily drink tea only to quench their thirst. It is also a reason to sit longer, continue the conversation, and maintain relationships. A gathering can last for hours without any special plans, requiring only tea, a few chairs, and familiar stories. Nightlife in Iraq is therefore not simply entertainment. It is a way of adapting to the climate. People cannot change the summer heat, so they change their working hours, rest periods, and the way they spend time together. When the daytime belongs to the sun, the evening belongs to the community. Number 17. The young generation between two worlds. The younger generation is becoming the force shaping modern Iraq. Nearly 60% of the country's population is under the age of 25, while the median age at the end of 2025 was only about 20. This means Iraq is not only a country with a long history, but also a place where millions of young people are deciding how quickly society will change in the decades ahead. One side of their lives revolves around smartphones. TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube expose young Iraqis to music, fashion, gaming, languages, and global trends at nearly the same time as the rest of the world. They create comedy videos, share food, review cafes, sell products online, and discuss education, employment, and social issues. By the end of 2025, Iraq had about 39.6 million internet users, equivalent to nearly 84% of the population. YouTube reached more than half of the population, while Instagram also had a very large adult user base. But being connected to the world does not mean young Iraqis have abandoned their local culture. Family meals remain important. Respecting parents and elders is still considered a basic principle. Weddings, religious holidays, visits with relatives, and family responsibilities continue to play a major role in daily life. A young person may follow international fashion trends in the afternoon, but still sit down for tea with their grandparents in the evening and listen to the entire family's opinions on important decisions. Even social media is often used to strengthen existing relationships rather than simply discover something new. A 2025 survey found that nearly 8 in 10 Iraqis said their main reason for going online was to stay connected with family and friends. This shows that technology has not completely replaced community culture. In many cases, it has simply moved that community into a new space. This balance is not always easy. Young people want good careers, freedom of choice, and opportunities to express their views, but they still face family expectations, economic pressure, and social limitations. Research by the British Council shows that many young Iraqis are interested in practical skills, such as creativity, problem-solving, and communication to prepare for the job market. They also use social media as a tool to speak out when they feel they are not fully represented in public life. Most young Iraqis therefore do not choose completely between modernity and tradition. They learn to live in both worlds, one hand holding a phone connected to the world, while the other still holds tightly to the relationships and values that have shaped their families for generations. Number 16. Low cost, but not an easy life. From the outside, Iraq may appear to be a country with a relatively low cost of living. A basic meal at a local restaurant is usually not very expensive. Public transportation and shared taxis are fairly common, and rent in many areas is significantly lower than in major cities in Europe or North America. However, those figures only make sense when compared with local incomes. Low prices do not mean that an Iraqi family has plenty of money left over. For people earning a stable government salary, life may be more predictable, but many private sector workers, small vendors, drivers, construction workers, and seasonal laborers do not know exactly how much they will earn the following month. An unexpected expense for medicine, car repairs, electricity, or school fees can quickly disrupt a family's budget. Finding stable employment is especially difficult for young people. Iraq's overall unemployment rate fell from about 16.5% in 2021 to 5% in 2024. But youth unemployment remains very high. Some recent reports indicate that more than 31% of young people are unable to find work, with young women affected even more severely. Each year, a new generation leaves school and enters the labor market, while the private sector still does not create enough positions to absorb them. As a result, government employment is still considered the safest option by many families. It provides a regular salary, a pension, and social status, but the government cannot continue hiring all the young people waiting for jobs. The International Monetary Fund has stated that Iraq's public sector has become too large, while the non-oil economy and private sector remain too weak to create sustainable employment. People who cannot find formal employment often turn to the informal sector. They work at construction sites, farms, small workshops, stores, or on the streets without contracts, insurance, paid leave, or retirement benefits. More than half of Iraq's workforce is employed under these conditions, especially in construction, agriculture, manufacturing, and retail. As a result, a meal costing only a few dollars may seem cheap to a foreign visitor, but can still be a significant expense for someone with an unstable income. Life in Iraq is not simply about finding low-priced goods. It also involves learning to share expenses within the family, work multiple jobs at the same time, and prepare for an unpredictable financial future. In addition, agriculture remains the foundation of life in rural Iraq. Along the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, fertile alluvial land is used to grow dates, wheat, barley, and rice. Farmers' lives are closely tied to the seasons, river levels, and planting schedules, creating a cycle that has sustained Mesopotamia for thousands of years. Among these activities, the date harvest is one of the busiest times of the year. People must work continuously to pick, sort, and transport the fruit, but it is also an occasion for the community to gather, share the results of their labor, and celebrate after months of caring for the palm groves. Number 15. The dinner table, where humanity shows up. In Iraq, a meal is rarely meant for just one person. Food is usually placed on large platters in the center of the table for everyone to share. Rice, grilled meat, bread, vegetables, salads, and stews are served in quantities larger than necessary because families are always prepared for the possibility of additional guests. When someone enters a home at mealtime, the host will usually invite them to sit down immediately. No formal invitation is needed in advance. As long as there is room on the rug or around the table, even a stranger can become part of the meal. The host continues adding food to the guest's plate, pouring tea, and asking whether they have eaten enough. Refusing too quickly may sometimes be understood as a sign that the guest is uncomfortable or unwilling to accept the family's kindness. Feeding others is a way of showing respect. The value of the meal does not come from expensive dishes, but from the generosity of the host. Even with a limited income, many families still try to prepare a complete meal for their guests. For this reason, the dining table in Iraq is not simply a place to satisfy hunger. It is where the distance between strangers and friends can disappear very quickly. Number 14. You're walking, where civilization began. Before Iraq appeared on the map as a modern nation, the land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers was the heart of ancient Mesopotamia. The name Mesopotamia means the land between the rivers, where water and fertile soil allowed people to build villages, develop agriculture, and create large cities thousands of years ago. In what is now southern Iraq, the Sumerians built cities such as Ur, Uruk, and Eridu. These were not merely densely populated settlements. They also had temples, grain storage facilities, administrative systems, trade, and a division of labor. Uruk became one of the largest urban centers in the ancient world. While most people still lived in small communities, its residents had to solve very modern problems: managing water, distributing food, collecting taxes, and organizing thousands of people living in the same city. The need to manage goods also helped drive the development of cuneiform, one of the world's earliest writing systems. At first, symbols were used to record quantities of grain, livestock, and other goods. They later developed into a tool for recording laws, contracts, letters, literature, and scientific knowledge. Small clay tablets allowed people to preserve information beyond the limits of memory and oral tradition. Iraq is also associated with famous ancient legal codes. The Code of Hammurabi of Babylon was not the first legal code in history, but it is one of the most complete and influential ancient legal texts known today. It established rules concerning property, trade, marriage, debt, labor, and punishment. showing that Mesopotamian society had developed complex systems of administration nearly 4,000 years ago. Today, Babylon still stands near modern roads and residential areas. In the north, the ruins of Nineveh lie beside the city of Mosul. People can drive through lands that were once the capitals of powerful empires, where kings built palaces, libraries, and enormous city walls. Decades of war have caused the world to remember Iraq more for its destroyed landmarks than for the achievements that began there. But beneath the images of conflict lies a greater truth. The land of Iraq helped give rise to cities, writing, law, and many of the foundations of civilized life. Number 13. A strange kind of chaos. For a first-time visitor to Iraq, traffic can be one of the most confusing experiences. On the crowded roads of Baghdad, Basra, and other major cities, cars constantly change lanes, motorcycles squeeze into narrow gaps, and horns can be heard at nearly every intersection. Turn signals are not always used. Lane markings are sometimes treated as mere suggestions, and a busy intersection may appear to function without any clear order. But after watching for a while, it becomes clear that the flow of traffic is not completely random. Drivers constantly monitor the position, speed, and direction of the vehicles around them. A car shifting slightly to one side may be understood as a signal that the driver wants to change lanes. A short honk can be used as a warning, a request for space, or a signal that a vehicle is moving into an opening. Instead of relying only on road signs and traffic lights, drivers must read the situation second by second. Traveling on the road, therefore, becomes a process of negotiating space. Drivers accelerate when they see an opportunity, slow down when they notice another vehicle approaching, and adjust their position to avoid a collision. Experience, reflexes, and the ability to predict what others will do can sometimes be just as important as official rules. This does not mean the system is always safe. Traffic accidents remain a serious problem, especially when speeds are high, infrastructure is uneven, and enforcement of traffic laws is limited. Even so, millions of people still have to travel every day to reach schools, workplaces, hospitals, markets, and relatives' homes. Taxis, minibuses, and private cars constantly fill the roads, especially during rush hour. People have learned to adapt to a traffic environment that demands almost constant attention. From the outside, it may look like chaos, but to those who are used to it, it contains its own system of signals created by eye contact, horns, distance, and reflexes. Order in Iraq is not always found in clearly visible road markings. Sometimes, it is created second by second by people learning how to move together. Number 12. The heat, a country shaped by the sun. In Iraq, summer is not simply a hotter time of year. It determines when people work, how they shop, how they travel, and when they meet one another. In many areas, temperatures can exceed 122 degrees Fahrenheit when the sun is high. Roads, concrete walls, and rooftops retain heat for hours, making outdoor spaces especially harsh. People prepare for these conditions before the hot season begins. Air conditioners, fans, water tanks, and generators are inspected or repaired. Families store drinking water, cover windows to reduce sunlight, and schedule their activities around the cooler hours. In places where the electricity supply is unreliable, a power outage during a heat wave can quickly become a serious problem, especially for young children, older adults, and people with medical conditions. Many important activities take place early in the morning. Markets begin to fill up before the sun becomes too intense. Outdoor workers try to finish the heaviest tasks before noon. Families buy food, visit banks, or handle administrative matters as early as possible. When temperatures peak, the streets become quieter, and people seek shade or return home to rest. Homes and businesses must also adapt. Some buildings use thick walls, interior courtyards, sunshades, and ventilation systems to reduce heat. Stores may close or reduce operations in the middle of the day before reopening in the evening. Vendors put up temporary awnings, spray water in front of their shops, or use large fans to make the space more comfortable for customers. When the sun sets, the rhythm of life changes almost immediately. Markets begin to fill up again. Cafes become crowded, children go outside to play, and families continue the tasks they postponed during the day. Many gatherings, shopping trips, and meals continue late into the night because that is when the weather is most comfortable. In Iraq, the clock is not the only factor that determines when a day begins or ends. Temperature itself divides the hours for work, rest, and community life. People do not defeat the heat. They organize their lives to survive alongside it. Number 11. Family, where you always belong. In Iraq, family is not just part of personal life but often the foundation of society as a whole. Family relationships may extend beyond parents and children to include grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, and many other relatives. Even when they do not live under the same roof, they often live near one another, meet regularly, and maintain close contact. In many families, several generations live in the same house or in homes located close together. This arrangement allows grandparents to help care for young children, while adults share living expenses and family responsibilities. A young person who works may contribute money to their parents, while older family members help watch the children, prepare food, or offer advice on important matters. When one family member faces difficulties, the family is often the first source of support. If someone loses a job, becomes ill, needs money for school, or has housing problems, other relatives may contribute together. The support is not always financial. It may be a room to stay in temporarily, a personal connection that helps someone find work, daily meals, or a person to accompany them to the hospital. In a country where social services and economic opportunities remain uneven, the family network serves as a practical system of protection. Meals also reflect this strong sense of connection. Weekends, religious holidays, weddings, engagement ceremonies, and funerals often bring together large numbers of relatives. Food is prepared in generous quantities, and conversations may continue for hours. Being present is not only a matter of politeness, but also a sign of responsibility toward the family. Major decisions such as marriage, career choice, moving to another place, or buying a home are also rarely entirely personal. Parents and relatives often offer their opinions, sometimes very strongly. For people from societies that place a high value on independence, this closeness may feel like a lack of privacy or a source of pressure. In return, it provides a very clear sense of belonging. A person may know that even after failure or hardship, someone will always be ready to help. In Iraq, success is measured not only by money or career, but also by the ability to care for the family, maintain relationships, and avoid leaving relatives behind. Number 10. The markets, the soul of the city. To understand everyday life in Iraq, one of the best places to observe is not a shopping mall or a modern development, but a traditional market, often called a souk. This is where the scents of spices, grilled meat, coffee, and freshly baked bread mix with vendors calling out to customers, bargaining, and conversations that continue from morning until evening. Each market may be divided into different sections. One street specializes in fruits and vegetables. Another row of shops is filled with clothing, while other areas sell copperware, carpets, household goods, or spices. People do not come only to find products. They also meet neighbors, check in with acquaintances, exchange news, and learn what is happening in the neighborhood. For many people, going to the market is a familiar social activity rather than simply a shopping trip. Bargaining is also an important part of the experience. The seller names a price, the buyer offers less, and the two go back and forth until both are satisfied. This process is not always tense. It may include laughter, jokes, and a glass of tea. The goal is not only to save money, but also to create interaction between two people. A transaction that happens too quickly can sometimes take away the most interesting part of the market. Many market stalls have been operated by the same families for generations. A father passes the shop down to his son. Brothers manage it together, and relatives help purchase goods, transport products, or serve customers. Every purchase made there does more than generate profit for a business. It also helps support an entire family's livelihood. Longtime vendors often remember the names, faces, and preferences of regular customers. They know who prefers a certain type of tea, who usually buys meat on weekends, and which family is preparing for a wedding. Regular customers may have the best products set aside for them, receive special prices, or buy on credit and pay later. In this environment, trust is almost as valuable as money. A loyal customer may be more important than a large one-time sale. These relationships, built over many years, are what make the souk the heart of the city. Shopping malls and online shopping may be more convenient, but they cannot easily replace the sense of community found among those crowded market stalls. Number 9. Faith, the invisible rhythm. In Iraq, religion is not present only inside mosques. It shapes daily schedules, the way people communicate, holidays, meals, and relationships among community members. 5 times a day, the call to prayer echoes from mosque minarets, blending with traffic, vendors' voices, and the sounds of the city. When the call begins, the rhythm of daily life may briefly change. Some stores reduce their activity for a short time. People in conversation may excuse themselves to pray. In offices, schools, or markets, many people organize their work around prayer times. Not everyone stops at the same moment, but the presence of prayer can still be felt in public spaces. The influence of faith also appears in small everyday actions. Welcoming guests, helping the poor, respecting parents, and caring for older people are often viewed as both social responsibilities and religious duties. During Ramadan, Muslims fast from sunrise to sunset. When night falls, families gather for iftar, sharing food with relatives, neighbors, and sometimes even strangers. However, Iraq is not home to only one religious community. Most of the population is Muslim, including both Shia and Sunni Muslims. But the country is also the historic homeland of Christians, Yazidis, Mandaeans, and many other ethnic and religious groups. Each community has its own rituals, history, and way of expressing faith. This diversity has helped shape Iraq's complex cultural identity. Although these communities have also been deeply affected by war, violence, and migration. For visitors who do not share the same beliefs, the role of religion is still easy to see. It appears in clothing, greetings, architecture, work schedules, and the way people treat one another. Understanding Iraq does not require sharing the same faith, but it does require recognizing that faith still functions as a cultural heartbeat, quietly shaping daily life. Number 8. One country, many worlds, one truth. Iraq cannot be understood through only one city, one community, or one period of history. Travel a few hundred miles, and the landscape, language, architecture, and rhythm of life can change noticeably. This is not a uniform land, but many different worlds existing within a single country. In the north, the landscape gradually shifts into mountain ranges, green valleys, and towns with winters far colder than those in the rest of the country. Erbil is one of the Kurdistan region's major centers, where Kurdish identity, the Kurdish language, and local traditions exist alongside shopping malls, hotels, universities, and modern residential neighborhoods. Farther south, Baghdad has a completely different rhythm of life. The city has historic markets, mosques, universities, crowded boulevards, and new neighborhoods that continue to expand. Farther south lies Basra, a city closely connected to its seaport, oil industry, rivers, and southern Iraqi culture. In the marshlands, some communities still maintain a way of life centered on reeds, small boats, fishing, and raising water buffalo. Each region has its own clothing styles, foods, accents, social views, and historical memories. Iraqis may be Arab, Kurdish, Turkmen, Assyrian, or members of many other communities. They may follow Shia Islam, Sunni Islam, Christianity, Yazidism, Mandaeism, or other religious traditions. Therefore, any description that treats Iraq as a single society overlooks much of the country's diversity. However, Many common values still exist among these differences. An invitation to drink tea, an unexpected meal, or a conversation with a stranger can occur in many places. Hospitality, strong family ties, and pride in one's homeland often cross regional boundaries. Iraq still faces unemployment, uneven public services, political tensions, and the consequences of decades of conflict. But the goal is not to present Iraq as a perfect country. What matters is seeing it more fully. A nation cannot be defined entirely by its worst moments, because reality is always more complex than what appears in news headlines. Iraq is a country with a long history, a diverse society, and many continuing challenges. However, war cannot represent the entire lives of more than 46 million people who are studying, working, building families, and looking toward the future. To understand Iraq, it is necessary to look at its markets, dining tables, tea shops, traditions, communities, and everyday relationships. This video is intended to broaden the perspective and does not represent every individual or region. Subscribe to the channel to continue exploring other stories from around the world. Number 7. Culture shocks of living in Sweden. Leaving Iraq, where the pace of life is simple, we head north to explore a country with an almost opposite culture, Sweden. Here, the first culture shock for many visitors is not the cold weather, but the silence. On buses, trains, or in waiting rooms, people usually choose to sit alone when empty seats are available. They look out the window, read books, listen to music, or simply remain quiet instead of starting conversations with strangers. If someone sitting next to you moves to another seat when one becomes available, it is usually not meant as an insult. It is simply the Swedish way of protecting personal space. Here, being polite does not necessarily mean talking a lot, smiling constantly, or asking many questions. Politeness can mean not standing too close, not asking personal questions too soon, not interrupting, and not disturbing another person's peace and quiet. Personal boundaries also influence how friendships are formed. Swedes do not usually invite someone they have just met into their homes right away. Social plans may be scheduled days or even weeks in advance, while showing up unexpectedly at someone's door can sometimes be considered inconsiderate. Friendships in Sweden often develop slowly, but once trust has been established, the relationship can be very lasting. The warmest exception to this reserved culture is fika. It is not simply a coffee break, but a social pause with coffee, pastries, often cinnamon rolls, and short conversations. In the workplace, fika allows people to step away from their computers, relax, and connect with colleagues. It reflects the idea that life should not revolve entirely around productivity and deadlines. Swedes are also known for their precision. They may say week 46 instead of late November, describe an apartment by its exact size, and use a personal identification number for healthcare, banking, government paperwork, and many social services. Even the words for grandparents are very specific. Mormor means maternal grandmother, morfar maternal grandfather, farmer paternal grandmother, and farfar paternal grandfather. Another concept that shapes everyday life is lagom, meaning not too much, not too little, just enough. Lagom appears in simple homes, balanced meals, reasonable working hours, and conversations where no one tries to dominate. However, respect for personal boundaries does not separate Swedes from nature. Through the public access right known as allemansrätten, people may hike, camp, ski, and explore much of the countryside as long as they do not damage the environment or intrude on private residential areas. In Sweden, freedom therefore comes with responsibility, while silence, precision, and respect for boundaries are natural parts of everyday life. Number 6. What makes Swedish women truly different? Swedish women often impress visitors with their height, elegant presence, and natural confidence. On the streets of Stockholm, Gothenburg, or Malmö, they often choose clothing that is simple and practical, yet still refined, without relying on too many accessories or flashy styles. However, what is more notable than appearance is the position of women in society. Sweden ranks among the countries with a high level of gender equality, and this is reflected not only in reports but also clearly in schools, workplaces, politics, family life, and even dating culture. From an early age, girls are encouraged to study, travel, express their opinions, and build their own futures. As adults, women may leave their hometowns to attend college, conduct scientific research, start businesses, enter politics, or pursue careers once considered suitable only for men. Independence is not seen as a sign of being cold or distant. It is simply a normal part of growing up. A woman can live alone, manage her own finances, build a career, and make important choices without depending on anyone else. Dating culture also clearly reflects this belief in equality. Women may start a conversation, suggest meeting up, or express interest first. Splitting the bill is common and is usually not considered unromantic. On the other hand, showing off money, status, or trying to impress someone with luxury can backfire. A fika with coffee, cinnamon rolls, and an honest conversation may be far more appropriate than an expensive dinner. What matters is respect, humility, and the ability to communicate as equals. Equality also continues in family life. Sweden provides about 480 days of parental leave for parents to share. Fathers are expected to push strollers, take children to and from school, shop, cook, and provide direct care, rather than simply helping when they have time. As a result, seeing a father sitting in a cafe with a baby or taking his child to school in the middle of winter is completely normal. For women, becoming a mother does not automatically mean giving up a career, education, or creative pursuits. The social system is designed to reduce the conflict between work and family life. Independence, emotional maturity, honesty, and equality are the qualities that define the image of modern Swedish women. Beauty may be the first thing people notice, but their confidence and ability to stand as equals with others are what make them more memorable. Number 5. Why does Sweden buy garbage from abroad? Sweden is known for its clean cities, vast forests, and high environmental standards. But one of the most surprising facts is that the country once imported waste from abroad. This was not because Sweden lacked landfill space, but because it does not view waste as something that should simply be thrown away. Within its system, waste can be turned into heating, electricity, biogas, fertilizer, or raw material for new products. In 2023, Sweden processed about 5 million tons of household waste, equivalent to nearly 864 pounds per person. Around 39% of the waste was recycled, while nearly 59% was sent to energy recovery plants. For the system to work efficiently, sorting begins at home. Paper, plastic, metal, glass, food waste, batteries, and light bulbs are placed in separate collection areas. Children learn how to sort waste from an early age, so this is not seen as a special effort to protect the environment. It is simply part of everyday life. At many supermarkets, people can place plastic bottles and metal cans into automated return machines and receive a small refund. This system encourages consumers to return empty containers to the proper collection point instead of throwing them into regular trash bins. However, the machines are also very precise. A bottle that is too badly crushed or has an unreadable barcode may be rejected. Some residential areas in Stockholm and Gothenburg also use underground vacuum waste systems. Trash is dropped into collection inlets and then travels through pipes to a central collection point. As a result, there are fewer garbage bags on the streets. Collection trucks do not need to operate constantly, and noise and unpleasant odors are significantly reduced. The strangest part is that Sweden's waste-to-energy and district heating system has become so developed that the country's own waste is sometimes not enough to supply its plants. In 2024, Sweden imported about 25 million tons of waste across its borders. After inspection and processing, the waste that cannot be recycled is used as fuel. The heat produced is carried through a network of pipes to homes, schools, hospitals, and apartment buildings, making it especially useful during the long, cold, and dark winter months. However, This model is not perfect. Burning waste still produces emissions, while modern filtration systems only reduce the impact rather than eliminate it completely. Relying too heavily on waste as fuel may also weaken the incentive to reduce consumption. Sweden's success, therefore, does not come from making every type of waste harmless, but from its ability to manage waste through technology, laws, discipline, and community responsibility. Number 4. Festivals that can only exist in Sweden. To understand Sweden, it is sometimes unnecessary to begin with museums, architecture, or economic figures. Simply observe how people organize festivals around the changing seasons, light, and darkness. Festivals here often do not depend on large stages or spectacular fireworks. A bonfire, a flower crown, a few candles, a table filled with crayfish, or a sky illuminated by the northern lights can be enough to create some of the year's most important moments. On April 30, people celebrate Valborg, especially in university cities such as Uppsala and Lund. As winter comes to an end, communities gather around large bonfires. In the past, the flames were believed to drive away witches, evil spirits, and dangers left behind by the cold season. Today, Valborg is mainly a farewell to winter. People stand around the fire, listen to choirs, sing spring songs, meet friends, and enjoy the feeling that the country is waking up after months of cold weather. By late June, midsummer becomes one of Sweden's most important holidays. People leave the cities for summer cottages, gardens, islands, or the countryside. They make flower crowns from leaves and wildflowers, raise a maypole, then hold hands, dance, and sing cheerful songs. The table usually includes new potatoes, herring, sour cream, chives, strawberries, and cold drinks. In northern Sweden, the sky may barely grow dark, allowing the evening to continue in pale light. After a long winter, midsummer is a time for Swedes to enjoy every hour of sunshine and express their gratitude for nature. August brings the crayfish party, a playful social tradition rather than a public festival. Friends and family gather around tables filled with plates of red crayfish, paper lanterns, and funny hats. People peel the crayfish by hand, sing drinking songs, and accept a little mess. It is a rare occasion when a society known for order temporarily becomes louder, more humorous, and more relaxed. When December brings Sweden back to its darkest days, the Lucia celebration appears like a stream of light. Participants dress in white, carry candles, and sing in schools, churches, offices, or city halls. The person leading the procession wears a crown of candles, followed by a group singing gentle songs. Hot coffee and saffron buns are often served in a quiet atmosphere. Lucia does not drive away the winter, but it helps people face the darkness through light and community. In Lapland, the Northern Lights are not an official festival. There are no tickets, stages, or opening times. People simply stand in the snow and wait for bands of green light to appear across the sky. At that moment, nature itself becomes the greatest show. From Valborg to midsummer, from crayfish parties to Lucia and the Northern Lights, these traditions show that Sweden is a country that lives according to the rhythm of the seasons, always finding ways to turn cold weather, darkness, and nature into reasons for the community to gather. Number 3. Cost of living in Sweden. Sweden is often described as a safe, clean country with a high quality of life. But maintaining a life here is far from inexpensive. The cost that surprises many newcomers most is usually housing. According to the prices mentioned in the transcript, a one-bedroom apartment in central Stockholm can cost about $1,600 per month. However, high rent is not the only obstacle. Strong housing demand means many people must remain on rental waiting lists for a long time. For immigrants, international students, or workers who have recently moved to the country, finding a suitable apartment with a clear contract and a location close to work can become a complicated process. Gothenburg and Malmö are generally less expensive than Stockholm, but they still cannot be considered cheap cities. Food also takes up a significant portion of the budget. Cooking at home is the most common way to control expenses. People often make shopping lists, watch for discounts, and choose lower-cost supermarket chains. Eating out is usually much more expensive, especially in central areas. Even a seemingly simple meal can quickly increase the bill. Even so, many people still set aside money for fika, because a cup of coffee and a cinnamon roll are not just food, but also an opportunity to take a break, meet colleagues, and maintain social relationships. Alcohol is another expense that requires planning. Drinks at bars are expensive, while liquor, beer, and wine above certain alcohol levels are mainly sold through Systembolaget, the state-run retail chain. These stores have limited opening hours and do not operate like regular supermarkets. As a result, people have to plan their purchases in advance. This is also a clear example of the Swedish mindset. Enjoyment is not forbidden, but it is controlled through clear regulations. Public transportation in Stockholm is not cheap either. According to the transcript, a monthly pass costs about $100, but it can be used on buses, the subway, commuter trains, and certain ferry routes. The system operates reliably, allowing many people to live without owning a car. Cycling is also popular because of the well-developed infrastructure, making it both affordable and convenient. By contrast, driving a private car involves fuel, insurance, maintenance, and parking costs, which are especially high in major cities. Electricity, water, internet, and heating continue to put pressure on household budgets, especially during the long winter. A home needs good insulation, an efficient heating system, and a reliable power supply. However, these high costs are balanced by public services. Doctor visits require a fee but are subsidized, and there are caps on out-of-pocket costs for outpatient healthcare and prescription medications. This makes it less likely that an illness will become a financial disaster for an entire family. Public education, subsidized childcare, libraries, parks, schools, clinics, reliable transportation, and clean streets are among the benefits people receive in return. To save money, many people bring lunch to work, buy second-hand goods, ride bicycles, use public transportation, and limit expensive meals out. Sweden is an expensive country, but much of that cost does not simply pay for comfort. It also pays for safety, stability, time with family, and peace of mind when life becomes difficult. Number 2. Museum of Horrifying Food. In the city of Malmö, there is a museum that was not designed to make visitors feel comfortable. The Disgusting Food Museum displays about 80 controversial foods from cultures around the world. This is not a place where people simply stand and look at exhibits behind glass. The experience directly affects visitors' sight, sense of smell, emotions, and even courage. Some dishes have an unpleasant appearance. Some produce extremely strong odors, while others make many people hesitate simply because of their names or ingredients. Number 1. Why is Sweden considered a happy country? When Sweden frequently appears among the world's happiest countries, many people picture peaceful lakes, clean cities, red wooden houses, and fika by the window. However, happiness here does not come only from beautiful scenery or a sense of calm. It is built through public policy, social welfare, and a system designed to reduce the risks of everyday life. People can still lose their jobs, become ill, face financial hardship, or experience loneliness in old age, but they are less likely to face all of these problems completely alone. Support begins as soon as a child is born. A family may receive about 480 days of paid parental leave for the parents to share. Of those, around 390 days are based on income, while 90 days are paid at a fixed rate. The father or second parent also receives additional leave when the baby is born. This means childcare is no longer viewed as the mother's responsibility alone. On the streets, it is common to see fathers pushing strollers, taking children to school, buying groceries, or sitting in cafes with their young children. Families also receive a monthly allowance for each child. The payment is not enough to cover the full cost of raising a child, but it can help pay for clothing, food, school supplies, transportation, shoes, and winter coats. In a country with a long, cold season, These seemingly small expenses can make a significant difference to a family's budget